Sister Wives, does Robyn Brown believe she should get paid? Robyn Brown, star of Sister Wives, was not a member of the polygamous Brown family at the start of the show. Indeed, when season 1 began, she and Cody had just started courting. By the time Robyn entered the picture, Cody, Mary, Janelle, and Christine had been together for decades. Robyn never really experienced polygamy the way the other 3 wives did because of the special circumstances. Some viewers say Robyn feels she's owed anything as they consider the series and her family's past. How could she possibly desire anything? Is Robyn Brown a shortchanged person? Robyn Brown is very driven by money, as Sister Wives viewers are aware. When she first met Cody Brown, many devoted fans think she had dollar signs in her eyes. But money can't ever replace the time you lost with Cody. Mary, Janelle, and Christine will always have decades of history with Cody that she did not have. Does the circumstance make her feel undervalued? Recently, a Sister Wives fan posted on Reddit, "Just had a thought on Robyn and money. I was just reflecting on the dynamics of this family before the breakup and how Robyn seems to be completely unaware of the financial injustice. She has consistently taken more and been granted more access, but she seems to think she is entitled to it and is on par with everyone else. Do you believe that Robyn believes that everything regarding the money is fair because, in order to be considered equal, she would need to have access to the same resources that the original 3 had from the beginning? In other words, she believed she would be entitled to an equal share for the 19 years of their marriage from the start of it." The OP came to a conclusion. Other Sister Wives fans contribute their views. Other Sister Wives watchers had a range of responses to the original poster's comments. Robyn Brown acts as though the world owes her something, according to accusations so shocking and damning that they paint a picture of a woman whose past is marred by deceit, financial manipulation, and emotional cruelty, a portrait so lurid in its details that even the most stoic critics of the polygamous lifestyle are left reeling. This shocking revelation has rocked the very foundations of the Sister Wives saga and sent shockwaves through the reality television industry. Robyn Brown, now well known as the controversial 4th wife in the notorious Brown household, was never the innocent victim she has frequently depicted on television. Instead, she was a cunning operator who, from the start of her disastrous marriage to her ex, planned a series of maneuvers intended to secure her position and profit from the vulnerabilities of those around her. These anonymous sources claim to have known the ex-husband and his family for years. The long-silent ex-husband's family has reportedly convened in private, passionate meetings to narrate a long list of startling details, including claims of unprecedented financial exploitation, in which Robyn allegedly systematically embezzled funds and resources intended for her ex-husband and his children's welfare, leaving a legacy of debt and hopelessness that still haunts those left behind. They assert that although she gave the impression of being a loyal partner, behind closed doors she used every conversation, financial choice, and vulnerable moment to her advantage, leaving her ex-husband to bear the burden of debts and commitments that were, in reality, the consequence of her extravagant, some even say downright extravagant, lifestyle choices. Family insiders have described secret meetings where relatives, who had previously hoped that reconciliation and accountability might be reached, were instead confronted with tales of Robyn allegedly inciting conflict among family members, setting them against one another in an attempt to keep them too preoccupied with their own arguments to oppose her expanding power. According to one relative, who spoke on condition of anonymity, Robyn is accused of taking it upon herself to reassign debts in a way that benefited her personal expenditures during what was supposed to be a routine discussion about the family's financial planning. At the same time, she blamed her ex-husband for his alleged irresponsibility and poor management, which not only widened the financial gap between them but also left his family reeling from the betrayal. The revelations went beyond financial matters. These reports contend that Robyn's purported manipulation also permeated personal relationships, where she allegedly intentionally sowed discord among the children from her ex-husband's prior marriage, creating rifts that have been nearly impossible to heal even years later. According to family members, Robyn's disarming charm and well-practiced confessions had secretly influenced not only the emotional dynamics of the household but also the very perceptions of loyalty and trust among those who once thought of themselves as a united front. The accusations flew like shards of broken glass during heated family dinners and tense gatherings. One particularly inflammatory allegation concerns an incident in which Robyn allegedly set up a situation where she accused her ex-husband's closest relatives of not supporting her financial choices, while recording every word and tear as proof of what she later presented in public as a severe case of familial neglect. On social media, this dramatic, if unsubstantiated, tale has sparked uproar, with both supporters and critics calling for the disclosure of the real story behind these shocking disclosures. To make matters worse, the ex-husband's family has also alluded to a long-standing grievance against Robyn for what they call her systematic rewriting of history, a campaign in which she painstakingly changed the story of her past to portray herself as the misunderstood martyr rather than the opportunist she is accused of being. These insiders claim that Robyn repeatedly responded to evidence of her wrongdoings not with regret but with a defiant assertion that she had been unfairly maligned by people who were envious of her ambition and her seeming ability to use hardship to her advantage. Recalling how Robyn allegedly brushed off questions about her financial behavior by saying that every purchase, no matter how extravagant, was made in the spirit of protecting the family's legacy, a claim that the ex-husband's family finds both laughable and infuriating given the overwhelming evidence of misappropriated funds and missed opportunities for genuine reconciliation, one family member, whose voice trembled with a mixture of anger and sorrow, recalled. The ex-husband's family story also touches on trust and treachery on a very personal level, with in-depth descriptions of how Robyn's husband and his kids fostered a climate of distrust and estrangement, where even the most basic displays of affection were seen through the prism of deceit and hidden agendas. It is said that during one emotionally charged confrontation, an elder family member demanded, "How can we trust someone who would sacrifice the well-being of her own husband's children for a few moments of self-glorification?" A question that, even if rhetorical, encapsulates the deep-seated resentment that has festered within the family for years. In the midst of these explosive revelations, the ex-husband's family has also levied allegations regarding the handling of assets and the distribution of wealth within the fractured household. They assert that while Robyn publicly championed the values of unity and shared responsibility, behind the scenes she was allegedly involved in a series of clandestine financial transactions designed to isolate her own interests from those of the family as a whole. Rumors abound that she manipulated bank statements, coerced reluctant relatives into signing over rights to family property, and even engaged in what some have described as credit card chicanery in order to amass a fortune that, in the eyes of her ex-husband's kin, belonged to all of them. Such allegations have not only tarnished her reputation in the eyes of those who once welcomed her into the fold, but have also cast a long shadow over the legacy of a family that is now struggling to come to terms with the fallout of years of alleged exploitation and deceit. As the bombshells continue to pour in, many in the ex-husband's family are calling for a full and unvarnished account of the events that transpired during those tumultuous years, a reckoning that, they believe, is long overdue. "We have lived in the aftermath of her lies for far too long," one relative is reported to have said, her voice breaking with pent-up emotion as she described the pain and disillusionment that have become a daily reality. "It's time for the truth to be told, no matter how ugly it may be." The gravity of these allegations has reverberated far beyond the immediate family circle, capturing the attention of tabloid journalists and reality TV pundits alike, all eager to unravel the tangled skein of half-truths and outright fabrications that have defined Robyn Brown's public persona. Critics argue that her meteoric rise within the Sister Wives universe was built not on genuine connection or shared ideals, but on a foundation of calculated moves, betrayals, and the deliberate undermining of those who once placed their trust in her. In this context, the ex-husband's family's bombshells serve not only as a cathartic release of long-held grievances, but also as a potent reminder of the high stakes involved when personal ambition and insatiable greed collide with the fragile bonds of family. They claim that if the full truth were ever to emerge, it would not only shatter the carefully constructed illusion of unity that has long been the hallmark of the Brown family, but would also force a reckoning with the darker undercurrents that have driven its every action. As the narrative reaches its fevered pitch, with accusations ranging from emotional manipulation and financial misconduct to outright betrayal and the systematic erosion of trust, one cannot help but wonder whether this is the beginning of the end for a family that has long thrived on secrets and sensationalism. The ex-husband's kin are united in their determination to expose what they describe as the true face of Robyn Brown, a face that, beneath the veneer of glamour and apparent devotion, is marred by the scars of selfish ambition and an unrelenting desire to control and conquer at any cost. Whether or not these bombshells will ultimately lead to a dramatic public showdown or remain confined to whispered conversations among estranged relatives, one thing is clear. The legacy of deceit and betrayal that has haunted this fractured family is far from over, and the quest for truth, no matter how excruciating, may finally be poised to bring long-overdue accountability to a saga. Janelle Brown talks candidly about her journey into a new chapter of romance and marriage following the protracted, convoluted road with Cody in a private interview away from the spotlight of the cameras and the constant scrutiny of reality TV rumors. Now, Janelle talks calmly but fiercely about the romance that has slowly rekindled inside her heart and the lessons she has learned from years of heartbreak, betrayal, and public spectacle. Gone are the days when every family meal was tinged with unsaid resentments and when every smile on set concealed deeper wounds. She remembers being forced to face a loneliness so intense that it required not only mending but a total rethinking of what it meant to love and be loved when she parted ways with Cody, a guy whose presence hung over every part of her previous existence. I realized, she admits in a tone that veers between resolution and vulnerability, that I had to start by rediscovering myself if I was to ever experience true intimacy and build a future that wasn't haunted by the ghosts of my past. For Janelle, this self-discovery was not an abrupt realization but rather a slow, frequently agonizing process of removing the layers of regret and expectation that had been placed on her for a long time by a life dictated by circumstance and the unrelenting expectations of a prominent family dynamic. Janelle came to realize that romance was more than just a return to the traditional formula of candlelit dinners and whispered promises. It was a rebirth, a reinvention of her entire identity, in the peaceful seclusion of early mornings and long evenings spent thinking back on what had been and what could yet be. Her value was no longer determined by her capacity to manage the intricate details of a multi-wife marriage and the ongoing requirement to keep up a front of unity in the face of conflict and controversy. Instead, she was drawn to a more gentle, real form of connection, one that was fueled by a quiet desire for honesty, respect for one another, and a collaboration where her voice could finally be heard without being interrupted, rather than by the demands of reality TV or the unrelenting expectations of a drama-hungry audience. She looks away as she remembers the many hours she spent wondering if it was possible to find comfort in the arms of someone who wasn't a part of a carefully constructed story. There's a freedom in knowing that I can love again on my own terms, she muses. She writes that this new romance came as a surprise, a soft spark at a time when she had all but given up on being alone. A kind text message that came at an awkward hour, an invitation to coffee that felt like a lifeline in a storm of regrets from the past, and gradually, with cautious optimism, a series of meetings that defied the explosive headlines of her previous life were the first little gestures. In these moments, Janelle learned that love, without the exaggerated gimmicks of the media, might be something simple and unpretentious, a friendship based on honest communication and shared dreams rather than the dramatic turns of a television drama. She describes how her previous relationship was different from her new one, a man who appeared subtly from outside the Brown family's well-known circle. He was patient enough to listen as she described the long nights of uncertainty and the lasting scars of betrayal, offering only empathy and a sincere desire to comprehend the complexity of her heart, without attempting to change history or assert a stake in the story of her past. She continues, softly but resolutely, I was learning to love myself again before I could truly let someone else in. And once I did, I understood that romance was about creating something upon which she is now constructing her future as she makes her way through this unfamiliar landscape. She remembers the oppressive stress of residing in a home where every move was closely watched and every error emphasized by the perpetual spotlight of the public. She frequently felt like a supporting character in someone else's story in that setting, a part that was determined by the rules of a system that prioritized spectacle over honesty rather than by her own decisions. But now that she is no longer bound by that unrelenting script, she welcomes the chance to write her own story, one that is based on the promise of the future rather than the drama of her past. She says, I've realized that romance and marriage can be sanctuaries rather than prisons. Partnership, trust, and the ability to be who I am without worrying about criticism are important to me. Following years of Cody's pervasive influence, which had cast a lengthy, unwavering shadow over every part of her life, Janelle now makes the decision to enter the light with a defiant and refreshing openness. Her newfound outlook on romance is one of measured, purposeful hope rather than rash optimism, a hope rooted in the belief that the future can be as bright as one's readiness to accept change. She is open about the difficulties that accompany this reinvention, including the times when old behaviors threaten to reappear, the memories of past hurts that occasionally cause her to doubt her own deservingness of happiness, and the unavoidable comparisons that occur when the world around her continues to cling to the well-known drama of the past. But as she moves on, she becomes increasingly convinced that the love she is looking for is a completely unique creation, made by her own hands and fostered by her own determination, rather than a repetition of what has already happened. Regaining her voice, which had previously been muffled by the din of family conflicts, sensationalism in the media, and the never-ending onslaught of expectations that dictated how she should act as a wife and mother within a convoluted polygamous system, is another aspect of Janelle's journey into a new stage of romance. Now, when she talks about the value of open communication, honesty, and mutual support in a partnership, that voice is unmistakable. She says, "I've discovered that in order to genuinely love someone, you have to be prepared to be open and honest about your hopes and fears. It's about establishing a secure environment where both individuals and groups can develop." This is a huge contrast to the suppressed relationships of her past, when every exchange was tainted with hidden agendas and every act of love had to be evaluated against the backdrop of ongoing public scrutiny. In her new romance, Janelle celebrates the simplicity of real connection, a connection in which love is a shared commitment to fostering each other's well-being rather than a commodity to be exchanged for prestige or approval. Her changing perspective on marriage also shows a significant shift. She now sees the institution as a dynamic, changing partnership where both people are free to reinvent themselves and support each other's goals, rather than as a legally binding agreement based only on duty and obligation. It took years of reflection, bitter lessons gained from broken vows, and a slow demolition of the myths that had long masked the truth about love and commitment in her previous life for her to have this change in perspective. Marriage is about finding a way to be whole together while still honoring your own individuality. It's not about losing yourself in someone else, she says. This hard-won concept forms the basis of her present relationship philosophy, which opposes the outdated ideas of dominance and subordination in favor of equality, respect, and unrestricted love. Janelle is still plagued with remorse and uncertainty, even when she thinks back on the past. She acknowledges that occasionally the memories of a life that was before characterized by disorder and compromise come flooding back, posing a threat to the advancements she has made. However, at those times, she decides to lean on the new relationships she is developing, a network of confidants, friends, and a partner who is always there for her. She confesses, "I'm learning to live with it in a way that empowers me instead of defining me, but I'm not erasing what happened." She has discovered a rhythm that enables her to respect her history while fully embracing the possibility of a future shaped by her own goals and aspirations in this delicate balance between recollection and rebirth. There is a tangible sense of freedom as Janelle talks. This freedom stems from a deep-seated resolve to move on with grace and authenticity rather than from a wish to forget the past. Honesty, mutual development, and the guts to go against the grain are the cornerstones of the romance and marriage she now imagines. They serve as evidence of her tenacity and a statement that, in spite of the suffering and the chaos, sensitive and transforming love is possible. Every ending, no matter how bitter, can lead to a new beginning full of hope, possibility, and the quiet joy of rediscovered love. Janelle's story is becoming a powerful counterpoint in a world that has long attempted to categorize her as just a piece of a larger, dysfunctional narrative. Janelle Brown is steadfast in her conviction that the true meaning of romance is the ability to start over, find beauty in imperfection, and create a marriage that is not defined by past failures or expectations fueled by the media, but rather one that is a living, breathing testament to the human capacity for reinvention. This is true even though the cameras may one day return and the public may once again be drawn to the drama of reality television. She says, in her own words, which reverberate with both defiance and tenderness, that her heart is open again, ready to embrace the love she has worked so hard to regain, and that in this new chapter, romance, and marriage will be celebrated as the dynamic, vibrant force that can heal old wounds and illuminate the path to a brighter, more authentic future, rather than as remnants of a troubled past.